Topical issues. Topic: some African traditional conjugal rites, expectations and rites of tradition in African anthropological perspective. This is a tough topic. It's a topic that people rarely discuss. I remember when there was AIDS, when the scourge had surged, had so many people being infected, we were taken to a course. By then I was teaching on how to teach us to talk about these conjugal issues. Because according to the African tradition, they were supposed to be secret. But children learned them differently because children stayed with their grandmother, and their grandmother was the naughty woman who would mention anything. So they learned from there. People had their aunts. The aunts, to most of the people, they would talk naughty. But it was not only talking naughty, they were filling in a gap for teaching the community on things to do with the conjugal rites. I remember there was a time when a program was introduced on national TV, Kenya. It was called Mombasa Raha. It was an interesting program. It talked on the intimate aspect of conjugal issues. It was started by a lady. It had a large fan base. It had many people watching. It used to start around close to after 9 o'clock news. And the lady would teach people issues that they were afraid to discuss in public. They were afraid to discuss with their spouses and were causing a very major problem to the marriage sector itself. Some ended up giving names, you know how it happens, but I loved her bravery. She didn't stand down. She taught. And people learned. And people benefited. People benefited, though others call her names. You know what happens in the African custom when a lady is so open with the conjugal issues. And it was for the sake of the public. With this, I'm going to get to some of the traditions. Some I got from some material, some time past. I tried to get today from the internet, but there was interference. So I decided I will use what I had gotten from the past knowledge. So if you find it's not consistent with what you have on the internet, don't worry. There are researches over the years. There was a time when somebody came to give us talks on these issues, and it was about African traditional conjugal rites. The African people had knowledge when boys went for circumcision, and in some tribes, girls went to circumcision. They had somebody who was taking care of them, who taught them all issues to do with conjugal. issues. And from there, they were taught how to prepare their husband or wife. Just like in the Jewish traditions or those other traditions from the Arab countries or other places, when a girl got married, it was very important for them to see if she was chaste. So the grandmother, those days when people didn't have blankets or whatever, they had a hide, cow hide, because that's where people used to sleep. And they will go to check the following morning to see the activities that went on and if there is evidence of chastity. I know you get what I'm talking about, because I know people of all ages are going to watch this. It was interesting when I was in college, teachers training college in a place called Kericho, and somebody came to tell us about a consumption of the conjugal issue during marriage. This one surprised me. He told me some place in Africa. This was a surprise. I tried to find out, but I've never gotten the material. That there is a community where somebody who got married first, anybody who got married had to expedite with the father of the married person, and then that person will take over. But the rest, it was just that the grandmother would check that, and if she was chaste, there were more presents to take. If she was not, they looked down upon her. And this would go on. People had arrangements. There was the age set. Age set were people who went for circumcision during the same time. And these people of the same age had issues when they got married, because I used to wonder why in the customs many people would call a wife married our wife. If people were of the same age set, they would sometimes expedite this within the same age set. So long as you are the age group of that person, some communities you would go, traditionally people used to carry spears, and if you find a house of your age mate is not occupied, is not there, and you had businesses expedite, you would put the spear out, and you will not get any disturbance because you are a person of that age set. Many communities had that. That's why you used to find when somebody is married, they will say, our wife. According to the ancient age set practices, that was there. Within the same age set, people who had many wives and a friend of your age set came and maybe in a drinking spree and could not go home, you would make sure the first wife, your first wife was the matron, will make sure she appoints somebody to take care of him. And that was what used to happen in the past. That's why you find there wasn't much misbehavior within the communities, because age sets sometimes would interchange. And people married many wives. So there was no excitement like people have today that now my first wife is growing old or my wife is growing old, I need a younger lady, because within the age sets you got married, if you had money or you didn't have money, they are all those. So you will be occupied. You will stay young. And then this would also go with the planting season. In some communities, before you went to plant, because people used to plant gardens according to their, it was the ladies' garden. If the elder one has got patches to plant, they start with us or to dig. But especially when it was planting season, some communities had to expedite this activity to the household that was going to plant the following day. They believed it gave fertility to the seeds. Then there was the issue of tradition. Just like the Middle East and other cultures, some other cultures from Asia, when a man passed on, the elder brother, the younger brother could not. The elder brother was supposed to take over the responsibilities, actual responsibilities, to this lady, and children born out of those responsibilities were called the children of the deceased brother. So the wife would not interfere. She knew that it was a communal duty. I saw when I was studying the Bible, also it used to be there according to the Jews. If it happened, a family member had to take the wife, take full responsibility. So was it in the African custom. And those children were now called the children of the deceased. So any child or any children gotten out of that responsibility of taking care were all named after the deceased. And I think, according to the Old Testament, so was it to the Jewish community. But when education came, the churches came, things changed. That was when the Christian religion came with one man, one wife. Islam was fair. It said up to 4, if you can manage. During that time is when a problem set in. Because in the African community, just like many other communities, in most cases we call women the weak sex. No, it is the opposite. In consumption, not consumption, in conception, the X chromosome has higher chances of survival than the XY. When the children are born, a girl is stronger in fighting diseases and all these things than a boy. So many boys die. Many boys are not conceived during the expedition of conception. What happens now as children grow? Men are prone to hard work. So many die within that time. Many die in accidents. Many die in wars because they are the ones in the danger sector. So it has created a problem. The problem we have now is the number of women is slightly higher than the number of men due to those factors. And a problem now has arisen because it's one man, one wife. The extra ones have a problem. And that's why now there is secret sharing and related activities. To the Muslims, at least, somebody is attached because naturally women are better survivors. They live to a much older age, unless she's murdered or something like that, than men. The resistance and resilience of a woman's body is much, much higher than a man's body. The man can only be able to produce a lot of energy at one go because the hormones that a man uses enables that. So he may be muscular, he may be stronger, but when it comes to bearing pain, disease resistance, and these are the things that stress, women can stand it better than men. It is a difficult time for those traditions they broke down. Now we have single lady family. We have one man, one wife, secret women families. Those are the majority. And we have those who have been brave enough, may not be Muslims, may not be, to go ahead and take 1, 2. It was the arrangement that used to be there. It was to fit within those sections. But I'm not only stopping at that. When we embraced religions, we forgot much about the marital life, the social life. So many people get into this sector very naive. They make many mistakes and they get frustrated. There are countries I will give thumbs up. A country like Uganda, a country like Tanzania. When a girl reaches a certain age, apart from the learning that they get from that traditional caretaker during circumcision and that education, they have special places that women go to train on how to be good women, how to be good wives, and it has an impact in the society. It has a lasting effect in the marriage relationship. Those who get in this marriage naive sometimes get into problems because they feel this is not the right man or the right woman that they have gotten engaged with. They try out, sometimes find worse choices, sometimes find people who are experienced but not for marriage purposes. So it has brought problems. It has brought problems. It's a high time that we went to some of these teachings. We checked religion for what it is. And we checked on some of the advices that were given for what they are. Because if you go to the history of Christianity, it was the person who wanted to be archbishop, that's what they said, that was supposed to be a man of one wife. But it's difficult also to take care of many women, financially, emotionally. Situations, just like the law allowed. I was wondering why the Kenyan law allowed that. And I remember there was a time when we were being brought forms for filling spouses, and we find 1, 2, 3, 4 places. I came to understand what it is. I came to understand, and I talk with pride about this man who one time went for presidential election, a teacher like me, and he came with a 3. Was there? 3, yeah. And some people say now this and this, but he was being true. That is the situation that is there. That is the situation that is causing many of the problems we have. Because those that are left extra have to fit somewhere. Being a human being, she is single, taking care of the family, but single. There is also a man who is single but secretly. You know what I mean? So it's a high time that we look into these changes that we have embraced and look into the traditional and cultural system that we have and see how the community can strike a balance. Because we like it or not, it's having an impact. And that's why the Mombasa Raha program, the lady who was bringing that, was a benefit to many men and many women. She helped them stabilize their marriages, get to know what to do in their marriages, get to know how to expedite that very important conjugal responsibility. That's my take. I don't know what you think. But I'm being open, I'm being fair, I'm talking from my heart and from the reality that is happening around the world and around Kenya and around Africa. Africa has had that push, that instability of moving from the traditional, which we were used to the Christian with set norms and unset norms and the other religious activities, and to the religious activities that enhance stability in these marriages. I think that's what I have to share for now in the African anthropological perspective of these issues. That is my take. Thank you.